In the series of end times, I will talk about Gog Magog in this video. In the second video, I will talk about Imam Mahdi. In the third, I will talk about Antichrist. In the fourth, I will talk about Dabbatul Earth or Beast of the Earth. In the fifth, I will discuss overall events of the end times. So this is the video of Gog Magog. There are a lot of stories about Gog Magog. Some people say that they are trying to break the wall by leaking by the tongue. But they cannot break the wall because they do not say Inshallah at the end of the day. And the wall gets filled up by night. One day they will say Inshallah, we will finish the work in the next day. That night the wall will not fill up. So they will make a hole and come out and capture the world. There are other stories also that they have very big ears. They sleep on one ear, laying it on the floor. They lay one ear on the floor and sleep on it. And another ear they use as their quilt to protect themselves from the cold. Today the whole world is mapped. Every inch has got a monarch. Nobody could find out this Gog Magog. But some people still think that they may be living below the earth. They have idea that there are 7 layers of lands. Below this level there is another level with everything, sky, lands, oceans, everything is there, humans are there. Likewise there are 7 layers. Maybe Gog Magogs are living in some other layer. However, the Quran does not talk about the layers. Quran does not say that the earth has got 7 layers. 7 layers of land is not mentioned in the Quran. However, in one verse it talks about 7 lands. Allah has created 7 skies and lands and equivalent. Through the midst of them descend His command, so that you can know that He has power over everything. These 7 lands are special lands in the skies. Special lands in the skies. Through these lands, the commands of Allah are descended. The universe is called skies in the Quran. Skies are spherical webs of space, one inside another, like peels of onion. Every sky is full of galaxies. Universe is expanding, skies are expanding. So in the Quran, skies or samawat means universe. It is called samawat al-ard as well, because the skies are full of matter, it means galaxies. So these 7 lands through which commands of Allah are descended are a special land. It is related to command. Command comes from the outside. Beyond this universe there is Araf, where there is a Sidratul Muntaha. Sidratul Muntaha is looks like a tree, but it is a server. And beyond the Araf there is Arsh. In the Arsh there is a computer sort of thing. There is a pen that write on a saving disk. And this pen and 7 disks, Lawh Mahfuz, is controlled by a motherboard. It is called mother of the book. Mother of the book means the entity that produced the book, that gave birth of the book. So it is a motherboard. Motherboard controls the pen and the saving disk, or Lawh Mahfuz. So it is a computer. Order of God, it is the computer of God who created human brain. Orders of God are written in the Lawh Mahfuz. From Lawh Mahfuz the order come to Sidratul Muntaha, that is a huge server. From Sidratul Muntaha, angels receive the order. Then the angels starts from the Araf. They get inside the universe through channel, special channel, through which they can move extremely fast. They land on the special land, or you can say it, the Quran call it lofty station as well. There are prophets also living in that land. Then there are angels living in the land. The orders come to those lands, lofty station, or you can call command station. It is a special object like per planet. There are 7 lands in 7 skies. So order comes to the land, orders comes in a group of 1,000 years. Then it is divided and segregated, and they come in sequence to do the job on the earth. So the Quran says that Allah has created 7 skies and lands and equivalent. Through the midst of them descend His command. These are command stations. Through His orders are coming from the Loh Mahfuz, located beyond the universe in the Arsh. So these are not 7 layers of land. However, 7 layers of land is mentioned in the Hadith. In the Hadith we find 7 layers of land. But one has to notice that all the Hadith that talk about 7 layers of land are related to the day of judgment only. One of such hadith is on the one that will capture half a cubit of land by oppression. On the day of judgment, 7 layers of lands will be hanged onto his neck. This is 7 layers of land. Then another hadith, on the day of judgment, the hell will be brought with 7 layers of lands. These are hadith. 7 layers of land mentioned in the hadith is not the land of the earth. It is the land of the day of judgment. The universe is expanding. Quran says the universe is expanding. And it will collapse. The day we will roll up the skies, like the rolling up the scroll for writing. As we originated the first creation, we shall reproduce it. A promise on earth surely we will bring up it about. So the universe will collapse. And it will become small. All the objects of the universe will join together. So that unified land is called 7 layers of land in the hadith. On that day, on a specially produced land, final judgment will be carried out. So the land of the day of final judgment can be called 7 layers of land, because that is unified land. Now these lands are scattered in the skies as galaxies. So in the Quran, the universe is called skies and lands, samawat wal ard. In every sky there is lands. Universe is webbed as 7 skies. These webs are one inside another. We are located in the innermost web or innermost sky. It is called first skies also. The universe is, the space is webbed for balanced distribution of matter and for balanced expansion. So it is not the 7 layers of land. Inside earth there is no another layer where the Gog Magog could live. And inside that there is a mantle, and below and mantle there are outer core composed of liquid iron, and there is inner core solid iron. So these are stories. The idea is Gog Magog is older than Islam, because the idea flourished from Bible. And in the Quran we find that in the talk of Gog Magog start with a statement. People ask you about Zulkarnain. This is Quran says. People asked Prophet. So Prophet was given answer in the Quran. Now if we analyze the verses of the Quran to the point, then we will clearly understand who are Gog Magog. We have to analyze the verses of the Quran. That I will do today. Before analyzing, we have to know who was Zulkarnain. Who was Zulkarnain? Zulkarnain means two-horned. Quran Quran says nothing about him. And only it says that he was given a power and means to move to the far end of the world. And he is two-horned. We know about two-horned from the Bible. From the Bible. I show it in the PowerPoint. This is the verse of Bible. This is the verse of Bible. I raised my eyes. This is from Prophet Daniel. Daniel lived in 6th century. Prophet Daniel is saying, I raised my eyes and saw a ram standing before the river. A ram standing before the river. It had two horns, but one was longer than other. I saw the ram charging westward, eastward, northwest and southward. No animal could resist it. None could escape its power. It did as it pleased and so became great. So ram became great. It has two long horns. It was charging westward, northwest and southward. As I was thinking, a he-goat came from the west, as if flying above the entire earth without touching the ground. It had a great horn between its eyes. It approached and the ram with the two horns, which I had seen by the river. And it ran towards the ram with all the fury of its strength. I saw how it reached the ram and directed itself against it. It charged the ram and broke its two horns, and the ram was unable to resist. It cast it down to the ground and crushed it. No one could free the ram from its power. So, this is a prophecy of 6th century. The prophecy was materialized later. Here, the ram with two long horns means Medo-Persian emperor. Medo-Persian emperor is called ram with two long horns. This horn means power. Horn means power. Power with nation. Medo-Persian emperor had two nations under him. One is Persians, another is Arabs. Persians and Arabs. So he had two horn. And this he-goat is Alexander. He had one great horn, because he had one nation under him, that is Greeks. He had one nation under him. So Alexander was one-horned goat. Alexander defeated, here it is told, Alexander will defeat Medo-Persian emperor. So, in 330, Alexander captured Babylon. In 330 BC. In 330 BC, Alexander captured Babylon. Thus, the prophecy of 6th century got materialized. Prophecy of 6th century got materialized in 330 BC, when Alexander captured Babylon. So, two-horned ram. Two-horned means a Medo-Persian emperor. So, Zulkarnain was a Medo-Persian emperor. People think he was Cyrus the Great. Most likely he was Cyrus the Great. Because in the Quran we find Allah is commanding Zulkarnain and he is following the orders. If somebody is commanded by Allah directly, if he is not a prophet, then he should be considered as Masiha, anointed one, Masiha. And in Holy Bible, Cyrus the Great, a Medo-Persian emperor, is called Masiha. So it is most likely that this two-horn was Masiha. Zulkarnain. So we will consider Zulkarnain was Cyrus the Great. This is the empire of Cyrus the Great. Or this is Medo-Persian empire. Medo-Persian empire, it was a huge empire extending from Himalayas to Africa and Europe. This is Medo-Persian emperor. It is 500 BC, and they lost. They was defeated by Alexander in 330 BC. Now I will discuss by the move of Zulkarnain, we will understand. We can understand exactly who is Gog Magog. He followed a course until when he reached the setting place. Setting place. These verse I have translated. All the verses about in this video I have translated word to word translation. According to the dictionary. According to the dictionary, word to word translation. He followed a course until he reached the setting place. This setting place means a sea beach where people go to see the sunset. It is sea beach, setting place. But illiterate people, whenever they read the setting place, so they think setting place. So setting place, so it should be in the west. Sunset in the west. So Zulkarnain went to the west. West is not mentioned here. He went to a setting place. The verse does not say that Zulkarnain went to the west to see the sunset. So he went to a setting place. He could go into any sea beach from where he could see sunset. Then it is confirmed by subsequent part of the verse. The sun, he found it sitting in eye. The sun, he found it sitting in eye. The sun actually does not sit. The earth rotates. The Quran always said the rotation of the earth indirectly, because 1400 years ago people would not believe that the earth is rotating. Prophet would be in problems. So Quran has said Allah covers the night with the day, day with the night. It means Allah rotates the earth. So this day and night is called indirectly, so that Prophet is not in problem, because it would be difficult for Prophet Muhammad to make the people understand the earth is rotating, because the people was very sure that earth was fixed. They would not believe this. So Quran says indirectly. Now here the Quran never says the sun rises in the west or east. It is telling the sun, he found it sitting in eyes. He saw it, the sun is sitting. So in eyes is added here, because Quran had to remain true all the time. So eye is added. The sun, he found it setting in eye. He saw in the eye that sun is setting. Sun actually does not sit. He saw it in the eye that the sun is setting. Here the Arabic word is ainin. Ainin, that means eye. But in normal, in other translation, in some of the translation, you will find the eye is translated as pool of water. Pool of water. Does anybody see sunset in the pool of water, or in a swimming pool, or in a pond? It should be translated directly as eye. So I have translated as eye. Then dark mud. So I read the verse. He followed a course until when he reached the setting place. The sun, he found it setting in eye, dark mud. Dark mud. Now he went to a sea beach where he saw sun was sitting in the dark mud. Where the sun sit in the dark mud? There is only one sea beach in the whole world where sun sit in muddy water. There is only one sea beach in the whole world from where one can see sun sitting in the muddy water. Which is that? It is Bay of Bengal. Huge amount of silt, clay or mud come from Himalayas and flow through the Ganges. This muddy water of the Ganges keeps the water of Eastern Bay of Bengal muddy. 2300 square mile area remains muddy all the time. Water of the Eastern Bay of Bengal remains muddy. The area is 2300 square miles. So this water of Ganges keeps the water of Bay of Bengal muddy. So if someone sees sunset from Calcutta or Khulna or from Borishal or Kumilla, he will say the sun is sitting in the muddy water. Therefore, Zulkarnain went to Bangladesh. In the first book, Zulkarnain went to a sea beach of Bangladesh or Calcutta. So we have found out point one. Point one is the sea beach of Bangladesh, where Zulkarnain went. You can see this is the water of Ganges, muddy water. It goes into the Bay of Bengal, and water of whole Bay of Bengal remains muddy throughout the year, throughout the ages. This is sunset in the Bay of Bengal. Now, further point, and he found near it a community. He said, "O Zulkarnain, either that you punish them or that you take in goodness." God said, either you punish them or you take in goodness. It means they are very polite people, calm and quiet people. If you punish them, they will not resist. If you take in goodness, they will be happy. So Zulkarnain actually collected porters from this area. In subsequent verses we find Zulkarnain is telling, those who will work good, we will reward them. Those who will not work well, we will punish them. So he collected porters from this area. These simple people, the people of southern Bangladesh, who lives along the sea beach, they are very simple and simple people, calm and quiet people. They never fought any war, except in 1971 when they had to fight. Second book. Then he followed another way until when he came to the rising of the sun. Here, when the rising of the sun is read, the illiterate people start thinking about the east. They think Zulkarnain went to the east to see the sunrise. It is not talking about sunrise. It is saying rising of the sun. He found it rising on a people. Sun is rising continuously on a people. Sun was rising continuously on a people, for whom he had provided no covering protection against the sun. So it means he went to North Pole. He went to the North Pole. He went to Siberia. Why? In the North Pole, there are sometimes sun remain rising for weeks together. Sun remains rising for weeks together. In the summer, sun remains rising for a long time. So this is said. He came to the rising of the sun. He found it rising continuously. Actually, rising means rising continuously on a people. Sun was not setting. So this is North Pole, maybe Siberia, for whom he had provided no covering protection against the sun. We have covering protection from the sun. Magnetosphere is the covering protection. It resists the solar wind. This is sun. This solar wind is coming. This magnetosphere is protecting the earth from the solar wind. But there is a hole in the North Pole and South Pole. There is a hole in the North Pole through which the solar wind can enter into the earth. There is a hole. So in the North Pole, people do not have covering protection against the sun. Now, when this solar wind enters the earth and come in contact of the air, it produces aurora. This is aurora of the North Pole. So Zulkarnain went to the North Pole, Siberia, near Siberia. We consider he went to Siberia. From Bangladesh he went to Siberia. what Zulkarnain was actually doing. I go to that. In the first move, he went to Bangladesh. In the second move, he went to Siberia. What he was actually doing? A king like him was not supposed to move unnecessarily. He had got some reason. He had some reason to move. And he was not moving alone. He had lot of soldiers, lot of officials with him. So he was moving with a purpose. You can understand it from this verse of Holy Bible. I saw the ram charging westward. So this is from here. We consider Babylon. From here he was charging westward and southward and southward and northward. Southward and northward. But this ram could not charge eastward because of this Himalayas. It could not charge eastward. The empire, this empire extended into the Europe. This area he did not capture, probably because in this area people were not living in those days due to extreme cold. He captured a part of Africa. Probably he did not cross the desert, Sahara. But the known world where people were living was captured by him. So such an emperor will naturally try to capture the territory of the East. That is what he was doing. He was actually trying to find out a crossing point. He was trying to find out a crossing point for his army to attack China. He was actually trying to find out a crossing point. But he did not find a crossing point. Actually, there is no crossing point. This is the area. He came to Bangladesh. This is here, Bangladesh. This is Bangladesh here. In this area, this is Chittagong Hill Range. Chittagong Hill Range is not that much high, but the hill range is very wide, maybe 100 to 50 to 100 kilometer wide, and the hills are thickly vegetated. It is not possible to cross this Chittagong Hill Range and go to Myanmar. In the Second World War, Japan captured up to Burma or Myanmar very fast, but they could not cross this Chittagong Hill Range. So their advance stopped in Burma. The 16th Army of British Empire was located in India. 16th Army headed by General Auchinleck. They could not cross this Chittagong Hill Range and help in the soldiers, allied soldiers of Vietnam, Cambodia and so forth. So they were also could not cross the hill range in the Second World War. Later, when the American Air Force became free, they gave air support, and then this 16th Army could cross this Chittagong Hill Range. This air support, air operation is called, this air route is called Hump Route. Many aircraft was lost in this air operation. So once the 16th Army got air support from America, then only they could move into Burma, and Burma campaign started. So this cannot be crossed. So Zulkarnain did not find any crossing point here, because Zulkarnain had thousands of, maybe hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers Zulkarnain had. And the soldiers had a lot of food, ration, tentes, horses, mules, elephants, explosives, and so forth. So it is not possible for an army to cross. A group of 3-4 persons can cross with a lot of difficulties. It is possible for a small group to cross, but it is not possible to for an army to cross this area. Now from here it is Himalayas. It is impossible to cross because the mountains are very high, oxygen inless. Then the Pamir. Then after Pamir there is Tian Shan mountain range. This is Tian Shan mountain range. Then Kunlun Shan mountain range. Kunlun Shan mountain range. Then after Kunlun Shan, Taklamakan desert. Then Altai mountain range. Then Baikal lake. Then tundra, Siberian tundra. Baikal lake, then Altai mountain range, then Taklamakan desert, then Kunlun Shan mountain range, then Tian Shan mountain range, Pamir mountains, Himalayas, then Chittagong hill range. So this is a great natural barrier. It is not possible to cross. So the Zulkarnain did not find out a crossing point for his army. So he went from here, started from here and searched up to Siberia. Then he followed another way until when he reached between two mountains. He found beneath them a people who scarcely understood a word. Al-Quran. Scarcely understood a word. This is important point. The Persian words are there in all languages of the world. In Europe, you will get a few Persian words. In Arab countries, in Arabia, you will get many Persian words in Arabian language. In Indian language, you will get many Persian words. But these people had no Persian word in their language. So these were Chinese people. It means Zulkarnain took a small group of people and crossed the mountain belt. The Silk Road, Zulkarnain was moving in 530 or 540 BC. Silk Road was not there at that time. Silk Road started 250 BC, around 250 BC. The Chinese porters carry the goods and they cross the mountain belt and deliver the matter in this site. In this way, Silk Road used to run. But in the time of Zulkarnain, there was not Silk Road as well. So he somehow arranged for some porters and crossed the mountain belt with a small group of people, and he met Chinese people. Probably Zulkarnain went through this is old Silk Road. In the Quran, he found between two mountains two mountain mean mountain belt, mountain range. Maybe Altai mountain and Tian Shan mountain range. He went through this route, and one can go through this route as well, Kunlun Shan and Taklamakan desert. Through the side of the Kunlun Shan, one can move into China with lot of difficulties. So he moved through this way probably. They said, O Zulkarnain, the Gog Magog do great mischief on earth. Shall we then render thee tributes in order that thou might erect a barrier between us and them? Quran. So people said that requested for a wall. The Zulkarnain made the wall by iron and lead. Probably lead was used as preservative, and he used the iron for piling. Most likely he used iron for piling. Here and on the surface, above plinth level, on the surface probably he used stone and or bricks. So it can be, it is most likely the oldest part of the Great China Wall is made by Zulkarnain. Zulkarnain made the oldest part of the Great China Wall, because the oldest part of Great China Wall was built around 500 BC, when the Zulkarnain was living. The oldest part was made in and around 500 BC, 500 or 550 BC, and Zulkarnain IX was living at that time. And we find here people requested him to make a wall. So it is most likely he made the oldest part of Great China Wall. This is the Great China Wall. A wall cannot stop a army. A determined army will cross the wall, but it can stop the dacoits, robbers, thieves. So the Chinese kings, they found this wall effective for the Silk Route and for the local population and the establishment along the Silk Route. So they continued building this world. They continued extending this wall generation after generation, and now the wall is 4,000 miles, 4,000 miles long. 4,000 miles long. This is the wall, 4,000 miles long. The wall does another thing. This wall, of this nature, the wall of this nature separate people. It does not stop the dacoits and robbers only, they separate people. This wall has separated these people, Mongolia, Manchuria, from the mainland China. If a wall like this, which is existing for last 25 or 2000 years, 2000 years wall, this wall, what it does, it gradually divide the people. The language of people of both sides will change, may change. Their language will maybe change, their culture may be gradually changed, because they are remaining isolated for thousands of years. So their language will change, their religion will change, their culture will change. They will be two different people. So these people are segregated by this wall permanently, culturally, religiously, linguistically. Now, these people, these are steppe, grassland. These people are nomad people. They live on raising cattle, and they are mobile people. These mobile people, and they most of the time of their life they pass on horseback, and their another profession or livelihood is hunting. So they are very good in, they make very good arrows and can use it efficiently. Horses, arrows, and the moving life is their way of life. So these people join military, army easily. If a leader calls them, this year the cattle are not good in produce good, so let's make an army and attack some parts of China or anywhere. These people will readily come, and they will attack in some places for looting mainly. So they join in an army easily. But these people are farmers. The farmers, they are peace-loving people by nature, by their mental makeup. They do not want to leave their house, because if they leave their house for 3-4 months, their land of cultivation gets spoiled. Their crops get spoiled. So they cannot leave the house, leave the home. So by nature, they are calm and quiet. And these people are different. They are good people. They do not like war. These are good people, gentle people. They do not like war. But these are nomads. They easily come under a leader and go for a military expedition. What happened in case of Genghis Khan? Genghis Khan was a Mongolian. He captured China. So the wall was fallen. It means joining these two area means the wall has fallen. It was not fallen practically on ground, but joining of these two people means wall has fallen. So once they captured China, they became a big power. They became a big power, and they captured the big area of the world. Genghis Khan defeated the Muslim, many Muslim countries. He killed 90% Iranians. His grandson Hulagu Khan killed 2 million people. He made greatest empire of the world, and he tried to destroy Islam. He stopped Adhan. He made the mosque established. He stopped circumcision, and so on. He tried to destroy Islam, but he could not destroy. Ultimately, his descendants started becoming Muslims, and they became Muslim. Except one, they became Muslim. But first time his descendants, were defeated. They were defeated in Ain Jalut. Hulagu Khan was defeated in Ain Jalut. Hulagu Khan is his grandson. He was defeated in Ain Jalut. Ain Jalut is a place beside Megiddo, maybe 20-30 kilometers away. In Holy Bible, it is said that Gog Magog will be defeated in Megiddo. In those days, Muslims used to think the forces of Hulagu Khan, the forces of Genghis Khan is to be thought by people as the forces of Yajuj Majuj or Gog Magog. They are sure that this is Gog Magog. And they were defeated in Ain Jalut, Megiddo. So this invasion of Genghis Khan was the first Gog Magog invasion. It was first Gog Magog invasion. But in the end times, this wall will really fall. This wall will really fall, and these two people will join together, and they will capture the world. In the Quran, it is said they will come down through every hill. It means every hills of these hills, every hills, Altai Mountains, Tian Shan Mountains, Pamis, Himalayas. They will cross these hill ranges. Every hill means Gog Magog will not come from every hill of the earth. The Quran says they will come down from every hill. It means the hills that is working as the barrier. So this was the first Gog Magog invasion. These people are actually nomad, and they are courageous people. These people, including the Korean, Japanese, they are in the Second World. Japan tried to capture China with a view to capture the world, but Japan could not capture China. These are courageous people. These people of Mongolia and Manchuria are people of Noha. People of Noha. They are not Chinese. Originally they are not Chinese. Chinese people are good, calm and quiet. They are gentlemen, and their main job is farming. These are people of Noha. We get it from this verse. Meches, he is the forefather of people of Moscow. Moscow has evolved from this name. Meches is the grandson of Noah, born after the Great Flood, and the sixth son of Japheth, along with Gomer. Gomer is Gog, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, and Tyrus. These sons, they populated Russia, Russian territories, and this Gog, Magog, they populated this Gog, Magog. Maybe the Gog, Magog are these people are Gog, Magog. They are children of Noah. They are children of Noah. Maybe Koreans are also children. Koreans and Japanese, they are also children of Noah, because these people are well built. Their physical structure is different. Therefore, these are from Noah. However, some people say that at the time of Noah, whole earth went under water, everybody died, so everybody is children of Noah. But the idea is not correct. The Quran does not say that whole earth went under water. People of Noah was at fault, so their territory went under water. Other people were not at fault. Africans were not at fault. Indians were not at fault. Chinese people were not at fault. Why they will be sunk, drawn underwater? So only people of Noah went underwater, and in Bible it is said only the family of Noah was saved. But in the Quran it is said there are believers also. There are a small number of believers who are also in the boat. So these people, the family of Noah, his 3 sons, 3 wives of his sons, then some believers were saved in the boat, and only the territory of Noah was saved. Noah was a European prophet. We understand it by seeing the Jews. Jews are descendants of Noah, and Jews maintained the blood. We find that Jews, more than 50% people of Jewish people has blue eyes. So they are originally from Europe. Noah was a European prophet. He was living in the area of Black Sea and Caspian Sea. Black Sea and Caspian Sea. This Black Sea and Caspian Sea, Black Sea was a sweetwater lake during the time of Noah. Then Bosphorus broke and produced. The water raised in the Mediterranean, and it produced the Bosphorus, and water entered through the Bosphorus and flooded the area. With this flooding, with the opening of Bosphorus, there was rain also. Allah said there was huge rain, and there were fountains. Maybe a portion of ice cap was also melted, and there are huge many fountains flow from this ice cap, and there was rain and water coming from Bosphorus. All this together, the water raised suddenly, and people died, and the lake became Black Sea. Black Sea produced in that way. This is the low-lying area, Europe. This is Europe, this is Russia. The land is low. This higher belt of land, Iran, then Pamir, and this higher belt of land. And the land beyond the higher belt, this place was not affected by the flood. This low-lying land of Europe was flooded, and all people died. So after the flood, this Caspian Sea was produced, and the people of Noah, believers scattered in Europe, they have got blue eyes, and some people scattered towards the east. And the Gomer and Magog, the son of Noah, the children of son of Japheth, they settled in this area. In this area means in Mongolia and Manchuria. In this area, two of the sons of Noah settled. And the branch of Abraham, they left this side. The branch of Abraham crossed the higher belt, and they came in this line. Branch of Abraham initially came to Babylon, extended through the side of Euphrates and through the side of Euphrates, and later some of them came to Israel and other places. The branch of Abraham came towards the south, and other sons of Japheth, they spread in Europe, and there were many other believers also who spread in this area. They are people of Noah. These Chinese people, they are not people of Noah. They are not people, these Indians, they are not people of Noah. These Africans, these are not people of Noah. Only these people are people of Noah, and some of them is living in Israel now. They are Jews. And there is also, they are also in Arab as well. Arabia, Quraysh people, they are people of Noah. But Quraysh do not maintain their blood. These Jewish people, they maintain their blood. Therefore, Noah born after the great flood, and 6 sons of Japheth along with Gomer and Magog. These Gomer and Magog, this Mongolia and Manchuria, and maybe Korea and Japan, They are violent fighters, very brave. They do not turn back during war. So if they can capture this China, they become a big power and they can capture the world. This is what the Genghis Khan did. That was the first exposure of Gog Magog. And they were defeated in Megiddo or Ain Jalut, whatever you may call it. The area is almost same. So now we understand the Gog Magog and where from the power, God get the power, and which world the Quran is talking about, and what is its implication of the world. This much. In the next video I will talk about Imam Mahdi. Now I am doing this video to orient you, to acquaint you with my I am author of Scientific Tafsir of the Quran. Scientific Tafsir of the Quran, you can write Scientific Tafsir in the Google. If there is any doubt about my discussion, you can go to my web page. This is Scientific Tafsir of the Quran. Scientific Tafsir of the Quran. Scientific Tafsir of Zakaria Kamal. Zakaria Kamal, it's me, Zakaria Kamal. Scientific, you find out, open Scientific Tafsir of the Quran and you get my web page. This Scientific Tafsir of the Quran. Now, to open part 1, click here. You just click here, part 1 is opened. This is 800 to 900 page, part 1. Then there is part 2, there is part 3. This is part 1 of the Quran. You can easily find it out, free PDF. This is part 2, click here, part 2. So if there is any doubt on my discussion, you can read my tafsir and you get deliberate discussion on the same matter in my tafsir. That's all. Thank you.